Hey guys, happy Friday. It's 4 for 4. It's Friday, September 27th, 2019. Sometimes when you got people who have a message, you want to get them on the show no matter what time of day it is. And this is my friend, Dr. Eileen Diaz. Hey, Carol.
Hello.
Give us a thumbs up and a heart. Let us know you can hear us and see us. She's got some great relationship stuff we were talking about earlier. And if you're my friend, I was probably talking about you too. Shirley Stamper, what's up? So we got a heart. We know they can hear us and see us. Super excited to have you on here.
Thank you.
Kudos to you for the promotion. My guest, you should pay attention to her because the way that she promoted the show. Hey Kelly, hey Shirley.
Hello, Shirley.
Was awesome. So welcome
Thank
to
you.
the show. I'm trying to remember how we connected.
Oh, okay. So I went into your website.
I know that part. You never know.
I filled it in. There's
I love
a
it.
relationship, and then
I love that. I love that you and we want origin stories
Okay.
first, but we got a lot to talk about. So if you have a relationship question and you want to ask Dr. Eileen, because it's share your story. And I love that. So just put it on there if you're willing to do it. Otherwise, you can always private message her later because I've tagged her. So welcome. All right. So origin story is huge.
Okay.
People want to know who you are, where you come from, and then of course they want to sort of know your story and journey too. So
hello everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me today.
Happy to have
I'm so
you.
excited. I grew up in New York, in Brooklyn. I'm Latina, so I speak English and Spanish. Growing up, I had a stuttering problem, and I was seeing.
Did you really?
Yes, believe it or not. Then all my life, teachers were saying that I was gonna have a hard time accomplishing my goals because of my speech impediment. However, it was not until I reached college that I loved psychology, and then started taking psychology one course after another, and I obtained my doctorate in clinical forensic psychology.
okay, I want to talk about forensics real quick on the stuttering. So how did you overcome that? I have friends that are adults that are still trying to deal with that. So what was what happened that you were able to overcome it? Did you go to
the therapist?
Therapist, right?
Yes.
Speech therapist.
Yes, I went to I had a speech therapist that would take me out of class every day.
Nice.
And they taught me how to slow down my thoughts and take time, because everything is about anxiety. So I was having a little bit of anxiety. I was thinking too much in advance. However, I never allowed anybody who bullied me or talked me down as I couldn't accomplish my goals, because I have great parents. They taught me
That's
that
awesome.
whatever I wanted to do, that I could do it. That all I needed was to believe in myself,
Isn't
and
it
they would support
amazing
you.
to have that support system? By the way, Louis Morales says
Hello.
Brooklyn, yes.
Yay.
Of course, Louis. We love New York. I was born in New Jersey.
Nice.
I know, it's completely different. All right, so you got through and you went to college. Well, I want to talk about forensics, but what was your initial thing? Did you always want to get into psychology?
That's the interesting part, is I did not know. For anyone out there, the young viewers, if you don't know what you want to take, just go to school or take some classes, because this is my thought process. I had to take 2 years regardless. So I wanted to take the 2 years out of the way, and then my electives were psychology. And then all of a sudden, I started engaging more and more and more. Loved it.
What was it about it? Was it that it was so much about the human psyche? Was there something specific that really interested you?
Yeah, it was. I wanted to know why you did what you do, why you think the way you do. Always wanted to know the why.
Love that.
That was very interesting to me.
Love that. And so you go, and then let's talk about it, because you got your PhD, but it's in clinical forensics. All right, so we were talking about this earlier. If you're ever at our home in the evening, it's every murder show known to man, every kind of psychological show. We don't watch normal family shows, apparently. We only watch murder. But it's fascinating, right? I think we're all fascinated. That's why those shows are so popular and there's so many.
Right.
What was it that drew you to that? Because that's a specialty.
Yes. I think I was engaging with the forensic population because no one likes to work with them. Nobody wanted to hear them out. Everybody has a story, and I learned this very early on, and I wanted to be there and help them out. The same way I felt like nobody wanted to hear me when I was growing up.
Oh, very
So
good,
I
very
wanted to be
good.
there for someone, and especially men. Men don't have resources. Now, the population I was working with are men that, unfortunately, they're in the judicial system. Either domestic violence charges, anger management, sex offenders, mentally incompetent, whatever the crime was, that was my population for 15 years.
Fascinating to me because you're a shorter, stature
Yes.
woman,
Oh, but
and
I
that's
could
such
do-
a challenge.
Yeah.
We were talking about it earlier. That can be a very challenging population. But I love what you just said. They didn't have the resources. Do you mean emotional from childhood? Talk about what you mean by resources.
Okay, so a lot of times in our society, we're very retroactive. We don't have proactive engagement with men. Think about this, like you said, well, growing up, men are taught not to share their opinions or values or emotions, keep it to themselves, unless they need to figure something out.
Right.
So if you have an answer, speak up. If you don't have an answer, then take care of it yourself. Or engage, like nobody else is there to help them. They're supposed to have all the answers, but how is that possible?
Well, that's what we were talking about. We'll get to relationships, but
Yes.
with Stacy, I was talking about Stacy. When she tells me her problem in the beginning of our marriage, maybe up till 3 months ago, I don't know, I'm learning, 28 years in, when she told me a problem, men want to fix it, right?
Yes.
So you tell me the problem, then let's figure out a solution. But that's not what women necessarily want. They just want you to hear them, which I want to talk about. And so it's so fascinating. So you're in the prison system. What are you doing in? Are they in counseling with you? Are you trying to? Hey, what's up, Rob? My 35th, yes, October 5th. Are you trying to help them so that when they get back out into society, they have the tools? What are you working on with
So
them?
depending on the program, so if they were in domestic violence, did help them with their anger issues, their perception, all these preconceived notions growing up that they should be a man, what is tolerable, their ego. So I was addressing all of their concerns and reintroducing them new coping skills.
So what kind of coping skills do they need? Because
Oh.
I mean, I'm listening, like so I'm a dude, right? But I
Yes.
think all of us could hear. I think all of us need to fine tune our coping skills.
Okay, so a lot of the coping skills, it's how you want to communicate yourself. A lot of it, like you said, a lot of the relationship in the domestic violence arena, not all, it's mostly the lady just wants to be heard.
Right.
Now, the man wants to be in control.
Right.
And that's a fear factor because they taught early on if you don't have control, then you're not a man.
Correct.
So what happens is I have to like redefine what a man consists of, what it looks like, what is a relationship, what is a healthy relationship, and it's a different tool set for them, and how to engage in healthy communication, not bottling up
Right.
and then exploding. Then it will go through this vicious cycle of bottling up and then exploding.
That's what we were talking about before we went live. I've had about 70 or 75 men come on the show, and when we're talking about something that apparently is cathartic for them, they have a break and they
Right.
cry on the show. Why? Because they've been holding it in for 1, 2, 25 years, because we're taught not to emote. We're taught
Correct.
to keep it in. You got to be strong. You're the dude.
Yes.
And then when you say something out loud that you've never said to anybody before, man, you want to watch
Yes.
every single person melt in that moment.
I know.
But I think more of us need to have that melt moment, don't you? Is that what you
Yes.
find? You feel like people are still, even women too, bottle up. You have to be strong. Can't show
Yes.
weakness.
Okay, but so in our society, we are taught that we have to get them before they get to us.
Yes.
Okay, I teach the complete opposite. My whole coaching and my techniques are, I fill in the gap. Because what I'm watching out for is the long-term effects. I don't want you to have any resentment. And what happens through life, what you don't do is what you build resentment, and you carry it on all throughout your
Correct.
life.
You carry it with you, right? Louis says, I learned I wear the pants in the house. Just my wife tells me which pants to wear. Amen to that, brother.
Yeah.
You don't think I dress like this, right? Stacy's got to set every outfit out every
I love
night.
it.
I have no earthly idea what I'm doing.
I love it.
Oh, but you know, you have that give and take. You've got that
Yes.
communication.
Yes.
All right.
It's
So
all-
where do we fit? So
Okay.
you've worked with men mostly.
Yes.
And then so you've got the forensic thing. So you're in the jails. You're in that arena.
Yes.
But you eventually shift.
Yes.
Right. So what happened?
So then I was in the state hospitals, and I shifted. Like, I need to gain experience in couples counseling. So I started going to couples counseling, realized I loved it. It's the same concept. Everybody has a story to share. Everyone wants to be heard. Everyone wants to be in a relationship, even those inside.
Correct.
And outside, even when you're in a relationship, you want to be in the relationship. Even when you're dating, you want to be in a relationship. And everybody wants to be loved. So I was like, okay, I'm going to this arena, this population, and couples counseling, couples counseling went into corporate coaching.
I love that.
Corporate coaching, another set of rules, but same concept.
It's relationships, right?
Exactly.
I knew you were going to say that because it's just so critical. I think people underestimate the value of what that word is and what that means. So what you apply, it may be a little different as far as how you do it.
Yes.
But the basics are you have to be committed to the relationship. You have to figure out how to communicate in that relationship, whether it's business coaching, corporate coaching, or couples. It doesn't matter where you're at. All right, so what are some of the things that you see? I love the thought process of couples counseling, which can be applied anywhere. What are some of the things that, because there's a difference, right? Men and women, normally you have to come at it as the therapist for the couple.
Correct.
But you're still dealing with two individual people, and you're also dealing with a man and let's say it's a man and a woman. What's up, Matt?
Hello. Okay, so first of all, I'm very confrontational.
Hold on, let me tell. Matt, she's from Brooklyn, by the way. Matt's from Staten Island. Can't have to say one word.
I allow my couples to engage and talk, and I like to see them interact. So I offer in-house. So I go to the house and I want to observe. So I'm very observant about.
You go to the house?
I see their
Don't
house.
they act like Stepford parents though? Like Stepford wives? Like I'd be afraid that I'd be like, oh my God, she's not gonna think bad of me.
No.
I'm gonna be the best person ever.
First hour.
They're on their best behavior, and then it all
First
goes.
hour, then if we do another series, another session, no. Then they're like so comfortable and they just let it all out.
I love it. That's awesome.
Then we engage in, I want to get to the theme. Everyone has a story and everybody has a theme. And when I say theme is, we all have a, what is it that you most valuable? Your story is, do you want to be heard? Is that your key emphasis? So all your arguments are going to be like, you're not listening to me. So it doesn't really matter. That's your theme. Is it love? Is it fill of a void of loneliness? Is it emptiness? Is it negativity? It's all about filling that void. And then I come back and I explain to them their theme, so now we can move forward. And then we could start communicating according to each other's theme.
And how does that work? Because I've been in counseling before. I'm a big proponent.
Okay.
So I think it's super important for people to get rid of that stigma about that.
Yes.
So what counseling did for me is, it was great. It was like a mirror, right? So I was reflecting. My therapist would reflect back to me. And then most of the time, though, whenever Stacey and I have been in like maybe a couple of times over 28 years, but when they reflect back, sometimes I don't like the answer, right? So how do you handle that? Oh, it pushes my buttons.
But that's growth.
Because I'm never wrong. I mean, I am, but you know what I mean.
Yes, but this is what I tell when they ask me something and they don't like the answer. I'm like, well, aren't you paying for me to give you something different?
You're not here to tell what they want to hear.
No, I'm not your friend.
No, you're not your friend.
I want you to walk away with new skills, new techniques. I want to see that growth, and you're going to thank me later for it.
I love that. All right, so how does that work though when you bring kids into the mix? We were talking about that earlier. I had Julio Sanchez, who I was telling you about, who he's Latino.
All right.
And was a stay-at-home dad when his
Beautiful.
wife was working 90 hours, 100 hours a week as a resident in her medical program. And that breaks every stereotype known to man, right? First of all, men normally aren't stay-at-home dads. Then you bring in the Latino culture, you bring in the culture part. So when you're working with couples and you can see the impasse, what are some of the tools you give them to get past it? Do they have homework?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so talk about that a little
So
bit.
I provide a lot of, I'm very solution focused, and so I assign assignments for you, activities to do. Depends if you're both stressed, then I have you go on dates. There are specialized dates that they have to listen to each other, and the number one thing that I have them to do to each other is they have to plan the date according to the other person's likes. Okay, they can't plan the date like, okay, I want to go to baseball. I'm going to bring her with. Well, she doesn't like baseball. That's not her date.
That's so good, right? You really have to pay attention to what because all that does is get you in touch. It reconnects you with what you probably fell in love with in the first place.
Thank you.
And so
I
you've
bring
got
all
to
that
reconnect.
back. Yes, joy, fun, laughter.
I love that. I think that's
exercising,
so
if they like to exercise, if they want to work out together, we implement workout technique, activities, cooking together. What is it that they like to do so I could bring them back together? And I want to see them laughing and just bring that back, that joy. Yeah, because marriage, it's so sad, but marriage is beautiful. Unfortunately, it's not viewed that way.
It's not.
But you know what's so interesting, Ted? When I meet single ladies or single men, and they're like, well, marriage is whatever the viewpoint. Marriage is no good. Marriage is, I go, okay, so why are you here?
Right. Why are they there?
Why are they there? Because
Well, they
I
want
want
to
to
be
meet
in a
somebody.
relationship, of course.
Exactly. 'Cause I want to meet someone. What's the purpose? Because you want to be with someone. Eventually
Correct.
settle down. So it's the same concept.
You know what was crazy for us when we did our therapy? My least favorite was when I was wrong, of course.
Of course.
Which is probably 90% of the time. But my least favorite is the car ride home.
Oh yeah.
Right? So you go to therapy, you go to couples therapy, you're talking, you've probably been proven wrong like 10 times in your hour session. It makes me insane. And then you have to get in the car and ride home. And so what that does is it forces you to deal with that uncomfortability and that outside your 9 dots, and it's not your favorite thing to do. And somebody's just pointed out what your wife or your husband has been pointing out for months. They point it out again.
Yes.
And so I love that, though. I think it's so important to push that boundary, because if you don't, then you're going to be stuck in the same thing.
And you didn't go to therapy to be in this just to stay the same.
Correct.
You don't. And I like to see change very quickly, 3 to 6 months. I'm like, let's move this forward.
Right.
And I push as much as they allow me to push. And sometimes I'll have clients like, oh, how fast can we do this? And I'm like, how old are you? I'm like,
How fast can we do it?
how fast can
Like
we do
everything else,
this?
it's immediate in our...
Exactly.
Can you please fix me now?
No.
And that's the funny thing, I think, but because people, I know that I watch people that do love each other, and yet there is such a disconnect. And I feel bad for them, and I know enough to be dangerous because of my background, and I was involved in so many different therapy, because that's what my job was, is to make sure they did it right. And so it was fascinating to watch, but I watch people out and about, and almost always I'm a big body language person. I'm a big watching how people treat each other, and all I can think about is why are you together? You've forgotten.
Correct.
You've forgotten why you're together is like a big problem. What you loved in the beginning now annoys the heck out of you.
Yes.
So how do you work with people like that? So the snoring might have been cute in the beginning, and now you just want to put a pillow over their head.
Okay, so
I mean, seriously.
okay, I call that noise. I allow my couples to just, engage and communicate of everything they don't like about each other, but I call it noise because those are just situations that you were just concentrating on because there's a deeper root.
Yes.
And I get to the deeper root, and I'm like, okay, so let's focus. I am listening. Remember, I'm going back to the theme. So I'm listening all their situations, but there's a theme. Either the wife may feel everything that's being annoyed is because he's not spending time with her.
Right.
So that could be her theme is, I feel lack of, you're not paying attention to me. You're not being this lovey-dovey husband that I fell in love with.
Right.
So everything now that you do annoys me.
Fascinating, right? Because that's absolutely true. There's this surface.
Yes.
So the snoring may annoy
Yeah, it's
you,
just noise.
but like Elena's saying, there's so much more to it, because you used to think it was cute. Why don't you think it's cute now? Because you're ticked off or upset or hurt by everything else that's going on.
So everybody has a theme.
I love the theme thought
Everybody
process.
has a deep-rooted issue that they want to work on because it goes back to their story. So I'll bring it back to see where did they establish that story, and then carry it through.
Good. That's really good.
And they carry it all through, and that's how they view life. So that's why I like to say, like, share your story, so I could know, so I could know what I could help you with, and we could just move this along and find out your theme, find out your communication style, find out your perspective. How do you view everything and everyone, your perception, so that we could restructure it, and then you can now communicate how you want people to understand you better, and you could get what you want now.
I love that. All right, so I have to ask you about there's a book out. It's been out for a long time. I think a long time, but I still haven't figured out which one I am. But there's a book about love languages, right?
Yes.
So my wife insists that mine is affirmation or attention, whatever that is. I'm not saying she's wrong. I'm just saying I'm not exactly sure. But so talk about that, because I think a lot of people, even before they come to you, or maybe they come to you with, hey, Dr. Elena, I'm this. and then you realize, whoa, you have your self-perception is not what you're putting out there.
Yes.
So talk about love languages, or talk about how that works, because I know people come to you with a preconceived notion of what they need to fix. All right, I'm just telling you, my husband's a jerk, and the wife doesn't. No sex. I mean, I can imagine the conversations. And then there's no in between, and they don't understand why they're mad about that. But the love languages seems to be this new thing, or new word thing. So talk about that. Do you include that in? Do you ever address?
Okay, so I do address. I have my own technique. It's called the Love 100% technique.
I like the Love 100%.
Yes, because in a relationship, we're so used to going back and forth, going back to we want to get somebody before they get us. We fall into the pattern of tit for tat behavior. Oh, I'm not gonna do this if you don't do that. I'm gonna keep it to myself. However, in the love technique, you are constantly showing love, their language, because we go over what constitutes love for the other person.
Correct.
And then trust and respect, and we carried all that together. Because in the book of 5 languages of love, everyone keeps picking just one, and if you don't understand, you could be a series.
Correct. It's more complicated than that.
Which I agree. There maybe one is a higher,
Sure.
and it shows a more percentage for you that you hold it dearly. Like, affirmation carries a little bit more weight. However, there are times you want gifts, and there are times that you want affection.
And it's trying to figure, because a lot of times, I think a lot of people put a lot of pressure on themselves that they're not giving that to their partner. Right. But a lot of times their partner doesn't really know it. Like, there may be moments and they don't realize that they need something different. Because we are complex human beings. It's not just is it 5 languages? I'm sorry. I lost it after. I don't know what I'm doing. I still haven't figured out what mine is. And I love that because I think it is, it's cool to be able to at least address it.
Yes.
And then, but I love the 100% technique because it's not such an easy thing to put into a piece of pie.
No, going back to your situation at the time that you went to couples and you were to drive back home, I eliminated that. I implement, which I had a lot of critique from my supervisor saying, you can't do that because you don't understand that they may get frustrated with one another. And I'm like, I can't allow my couples to leave my office in that state.
Right.
Okay, so in my office, I have 15 minutes before the session ends, I ensure and I make sure that what is comfortable, they could convey love to each other at that moment. It could be holding hands. It could be a statement. It could just be them saying thank you or a hug. So that way they know, because people forget, just because you love each other and you're upset, you may not like each other, but I want to go bring you back to, you do love each other.
Correct.
So now I'm going to bring you back to that union. And remind yourself, when you leave the office, we're working as a team. Right now, I might feel a little bit uneasy, we're like unsteady ground. However, I want to bring you back together to know that together you're going to be going through it. You're not alone.
I like that a lot. I think people feel like they're alone a lot, even if they're in a relationship. Yes. And even though you've been with a partner, it doesn't matter how long, it's still sometimes hard to share some of the deepest insecurities you have or the things you have going on. I'm sure it's women too, but I know men that I talk to, I could never tell my wife what I'm telling you, Ted. I could never. Right. And I'm like, why? I understand why. Don't get me wrong. I understand the societal conformity there and what we're taught, but I'm like, why? She's your best friend.
Exactly.
So treat her like your best friend. And I'm not perfect. Listen, if Stacey was on right now, she'd be like, oh yeah, preach. You better come home and figure out the 5 languages of which one I want, and then you better hold my hand or whatever it is that she wants. Yeah. But I'm saying to you that it's very important to be in tune and in touch with that. Yes. It's not easy ever. No. We're not, I mean, she's the pro, and I guarantee you, the pro isn't always the one that is in the, but at least we're cognizant of that. Yes. We want to be super cognizant of it, and I think it's important in any relationship. But you can apply this, which I want to talk a little bit about the corporate part. Okay. You can apply this to any relationship. This isn't just about marriage or whatever your relationship is. You can go into business. Yes. So because a lot of people go, Ted, how do you have so many people who want to do business with you? Well, I treat everybody like it's a personal relationship. I don't look at it as the money thing. I look at it as a human being. So talk about how you translate that to corporate.
Okay, so a lot of the CEOs of the company, they have employees, right? And they don't know how to engage with, imagine having 40 employees with different personalities.
Right.
How do they maneuver all those personalities and still be financially stable that you could get work done?
Right.
So they'll bring me on board and be like, and explain what is it that they want to achieve. Do they want to achieve a leadership training? Do they want to achieve a mentorship program? Do they want to implement policies and procedures that we could implement in the corporation, so that way it eliminates stress on everyone?
Right.
So it's all about a relationship, and a lot of times those that are running companies, they're suffering at home.
Correct.
So I come in and I help them bridge that gap. So I bring their spouse and with the CEO
That's great.
and bring them together and know this is your company. Yes, this is the person in charge day in and day out, but you have a company at home that needs you to bring them with you day in and day out as well. And how much do you want to get them involved? And we communicate, and we have, same relationship at home, bringing it to work, and then bring it work-life balance. And making sure that everybody's needs are being met.
I think it's so important too for partners. We'll go back a little bit to personal. Stacy, like I'll use Stacy.
Yes.
I know she's stressed out during the day. She's a teacher.
Okay.
She knows that I get stressed out sometimes during the day too.
Yes.
But we aren't in it so that we can 100% relate to it. So you have to find ways to be empathetic.
Yes.
And you have to find ways to, I'm going to burn this show when we're done, by the way. I'm kidding. We have to find ways to be empathetic, and we have to find ways to figure out how to at least understand how to comfort, support that person. I don't teach high school at a private school, so I'm not dealing with that on a daily basis.
Right.
She doesn't do 4 shows in a day, so she's not dealing with that.
Right.
And so we only have what we're told, and then we expect the partner to understand
guess.
100%.
To guess it
What do you
out.
mean you don't understand why I'm stressed out? I did 4 shows. Well, she has no point of reference for that.
No.
What do you mean you're stressed out about teaching kids something? I have no point of reference for that.
Right.
I think we need to be more cognizant as human beings, not just in personal relationships, but our business
Is
relationships.
the communication, the lack of.
Yes, so talk about the lack of.
So a lot of times people will ask, what makes a relationship work? And people answer, communication. And I come back and I'm like, no, it's the lack of. It's the lack of communication. It's the what is not being said, what is not being related, what is not being conveyed that the other person can help you. Going back, a lot of ladies will guess, no, he's supposed to know that I'm tired and stressed and I want him to help me. Well, how is he supposed to know that if you've never mentioned it to him? Because you do it. However, he might see it as, why are you not giving me space when I'm stressed? I need space because of the lack of. So I encourage my couples to always communicate the lack of, the underlying. What is it that at this moment you would like this person to do? Well, I want 5-10 minutes to myself when I walk into the room, and then when I come out, then engage with me.
But how easy is that to say, and yet we don't say it? We don't communicate what our basic needs are to get through whatever we're going through.
And you know what's so interesting? When we go to a restaurant, and I'm very observant, we go to a restaurant and we return a plate that we don't like. We have no hesitation to return and tell the server, we don't like this. We go to the store and we buy clothes that fit us. We don't buy clothes that are bigger, we don't buy clothes that are smaller or tighter. We return, if we are taking advantage of at a store, we'll argue and debate and have our communication right at that moment. But when the number one person that you're supposed to spend the rest of your life with, you don't even want to communicate of, how about if we just help me out and I just need 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes for myself.
But I think something it's resonating with me, and I'm not thinking about my own situation. I think that if you will ask, and it's not just the ask, remember the other person has to share it.
Yes.
And that's also where there's a disconnect. So if I say, what can I do? I'll use me. What can I do? And Stacy doesn't want to talk about it. It's very hard for me to do anything I don't know what it is she needs at that moment. And so if we're not communicating that basic, look, I need 10 minutes, or can you just come hold me, or can I have a hug?
Yes.
I know it sounds weird asking for that stuff, but
you
I
have
can't
to.
guess.
Exactly.
I have no earthly idea what's going on.
Because we're all different.
Correct.
And then what happens is now the other person received what they wanted and now they feel good.
Correct.
And you spent the rest of the evening in a happy state versus where we get couples that don't say anything. The rest of the evening is ruined because now she's upset that you didn't do what she wanted you to do.
Yep.
Meanwhile, you're thinking, I have no clue why she's mad at me.
A lot of men don't. Look, I've been in that boat. Sometimes I'm like, she's like, well, I'm upset. What? What happened? How do you not know? I go, I don't know. I wouldn't ask you if I knew.
So ladies out there, men, you need to tell them they're not observant.
We need flashcards, ladies. I hate to tell you. We need the flashcards, 100%. Because it's basic communication. And the same with men. I mean, if there's something bothering you, you're not feeling good, you've got something going on, it's okay to share with your partner, look, I'm feeling insecure, not confident, I'm not having a good day, here's why. You don't have to be all bravado and push it out like that. I think it's super important for us to do that.
Because what happens is, if you don't communicate it early enough, what happens later on is the resentment, hang out with the friends, working late hours, ulcers, diabetes, infidelity, alcoholism,
super bad.
Everything goes down the drain just because you didn't want to stop and say, excuse me, I need you. How about if you come home early? Or a lot of times men are very spontaneous. I'm like, I want to go away this weekend. I know we have a lot of bills. Right. I know we have kids, but I really need to get away. How about if we make it happen because I need this?
Right.
And then the wife is, okay, you need it. So that way the communication is always open and is constructive, and you learn from one another.
And you have to be receptive, right?
Yes.
So the partner, when they share it with you, the worst thing you can possibly do is ixnay it, knock it down, make fun of it, say, no, you're an idiot, you're crazy. No. And this is on both sides of the relationship. So if your wife or your partner shares something with you, you can't say, well, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. Because what's going to happen? They're just going to retreat more.
Yes.
So you have to be open and receptive. And especially if you've established those boundaries and you say, tell me what it is that you need, and then they say it and you make fun of it, it's bad. It's the worst. I know sometimes that's the reaction, right? Because you're reacting, because maybe they're sharing that with you for the first time.
Right.
Maybe if the husband says, I want to get away, I know we have bills, and the wife says, where are we going to go? The backyard? Like, what are we doing? We have no money.
Exactly.
But you have to figure out ways to communicate. You have to figure out ways how to make stuff happen, especially if that's important to your partner.
Yes.
All right, so we're going to share, what have I missed? We're going to share all of Dr. Elena's contact. It goes by fast, right?
Yes, it does.
Dr. Elena's contact
you.
Information, how you can reach out to her,
Please.
how she can be your corporate coach, how you can relationship life coach, because I think we all need somebody. And a lot of people who are feeding you that information are probably not the right people to feed it to you if you want to look at their relationships and how wonderful that's going. And if you realize it's not going so well, stop taking advice from those people. But we're going to share all of that. She's amazing. She's accessible. So we'd like to talk about mentors on the TED Show and TED's community. Yes. So if you can share a couple of mentors maybe, or a mentor who was super important in your life that made an impact on you.
Well, I'm going to say my faith it brought me out of darkest times and hours. My parents, because they always believed in me, and my mentor is my sister. I value her, and my brother. We're so close that they are go-getters as well, and we're all outside thinkers, outside the box thinkers. So I want to thank my family, because that's my biggest pride and joy is my parents, my sister, my brother, who I look up to, and an engineer that always believed in me as well and said, you have a story, go tell it to Robert. So I want to thank him as well. And I just want to thank, you know who I want to thank? All my past, because they made me who I am. And I appreciate every single one of you that I met and I spent time with, that good or bad. I appreciate all the stories and all my time, because if it wasn't for my experience, I wouldn't be here today.
Love that. All right, so who doesn't want Dr. Eileen Diaz in their corner. I mean, I think that's so important to have somebody come on and really share, and I appreciate you sharing all the
Thank you.
stories. And I appreciate you sharing your journey.
you.
All right, we love you guys.
Thank
Have an
you.
amazing
Bye.
weekend.
Yes.
Monday is my last show on Ted Bogert. We are moving October 1st to the TED Show page. So please keep that in mind. I'm sure you're going to get bombarded from Derek or whomever else is helping me with my social media. We just feel like it's time to shift over there. It's time to do it on that page where people can follow things in a better way. But so blessed to
Thank
have
you.
Dr. Eileen Diaz on the show. Reach out to her,
Yes.
and she'll share all her information, and we will too. Have a blessed, wonderful weekend. See you later.
Bye.
Mwah. Bye.